Okay, so good evening all. We have another Adda speaker today amongst us, and we have Niladri from 2007 batch. So Niladri currently works for YouTube, and he heads the strategy and operations for short creators, and is credited for building the global shorts scaled partnership teams that manages some of the top YouTube creators globally. He has 10 plus years of experience and started his career in strategy and planning at Maruti Suzuki. He joined Google in 2015 and has ever since worked in multiple roles at the company, namely Google Ads, account management, Google hardware partnerships, business development, Google Nest, engineering program management, and YouTube strategy and operations. Niladri has an MBA in marketing and BE in electronics and communications engineering. In his free time, he enjoys playing soccer, visual designing, and 3D printing. Today, he will be talking us about on the topic program management as a career. So, without further ado, I would invite Niladri to take over the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Satyam. Thank you everyone for giving the opportunity. This presentation is primarily focused on any of my Praktani friends who are interested in learning about program management as a career, primarily in tech, but also this is a unheard of domain when I was growing up and learning about working in tech in India. But once I moved to the US, I started getting to know more about program management. So I felt this is a great opportunity for me to share what I have learned so far. But before I get started, let me quickly move on and talk a few things about myself. And thank you so much for the introduction. But yes, I've been working specifically for Google for close to 9 years now, heading the strategy and GTM for the YouTube Shorts creators. And I've also worked in 4 different Google offices and 4 different Google orgs ever since I started at Google. But the fun fact about me is I dropped out of medical school and NDA, National Defense Academy, to pursue engineering, but I still ended up doing a business job. But while at Vidyapeeth, there was a fun few things that I really hold dearly and I feel proud about. I was the class monitor, the dining hall minister, and the Dham Sevak at different stages of my Vidyapeeth life. But I was also the member of the chanting group and the music group for 7 straight years. It's interesting because every year there will be a new chanting group, and then our existing chanting group will be there, and then the Maharaj will basically decide which chanting group should go ahead. And me and a few of my close friends who are part of the chanting group, we will always try to better ourselves so that we get picked, and it kept happening. And then we continued to be the lead chanting group for Vidyapeeth for 7 straight years. I've actually spent 8 years at Vidyapeeth, so 2007 12th pass out, but 2005 10th pass out. I also had the chance of being highly active in sports and specifically football. So in plus two, I actually won the best sportsman, the best football player award. Also, like two of the things I hold very dearly and very closely. But in Vidyapeeth, it also allowed me to pursue karate, and I actually have a second dan black belt in karate from Vidyapeeth. So one of my favorite activities and memories from the place as well. Sharing the batch photos for 2007 and 2005, so I'll go back. In 2007 we had like 20-30% of the people joining from the 10th batch, and then 70% of the people, or roughly 60% of the people, were all new. So we got to meet a lot of people and spend 2 more years with my friends. But 2005 was when I had spent most amount of time in Vidyapeeth. Joined in class 5, passed out in class 10th. This was the batch photo from 2005. Um, Not taking too much time, but also quickly wanted to share 2 photos that just popped up on my feed. The right on the right, it's the left side is all the folks who are pursuing medical primarily as a career option. Like we had physics, chemistry, maths, and bio. Um, so this was from my section picture, and I see most of my medical pursuing friends or bio and maths friends in this picture. And the right side is the medical versus engineering tournament that used to happen in plus two. This was the first year medical ever won the tournament ever since its inception 8 years ago. And then me and Shankho Ghosh, my co-captain, so we were the first like captains to win this cup. So very proud moment for us as well. Okay, without spending more time, I just want to quickly talk about the agenda. So, of course, I'm going to talk about what is program management, but then a lot of people who knows about program management might also be confused between a program manager and a project manager. So, I'm going to go through that a little bit. What are the top attributes of a program manager? So, it's good to know that if you already have those attributes or you can flex those attributes, you might be a good fit to become a program manager. And then the most important piece about career mobility, like how can you become a program manager and what you can become after having become a program manager, and then finally how to become a program manager. If you're interested, if you find all of these things um, you can end up being a program manager yourself. Okay, moving on. So what is program management? um, so program managers are primarily responsible for delivering successful programs that are predictable, visible, efficient, governed, and scalable. Honestly, if every individual person and every individual project was working fine, working towards a objective, everyone was doing their part, no one was looking at only their incentives and their goals, but instead the goal of the entire organization, there wouldn't be a need for a program manager because it'll be self-programmed, self-managed. But usually that doesn't happen as the scale of the organization and the scale of projects keep growing. There's a lot of synergy and mapping that is required across different projects and different initiatives. And that's where a program manager usually steps in. It's usually a little more senior and experienced role in the industry, especially in tech, because the amount of scope, visibility, control, and authority and experience that is required, you need a little bit of experience before you become a program manager. So usually you wouldn't see a lot of program managers fresh out of college. You might see a lot of project managers fresh out of college, but not in the program management domain. Now, why this is a good career? Because a program management or a PGM role is one of the fastest growing roles in technology. And in the Bay Area alone, we used to have like thousands of job openings at a point in time. And then the responsibilities and expectations for this particular role also varies at the same time, changes a lot. But it allows you to really boost ahead in your career for people who are like ambitious, who want to get the job done, and who at least it allows people to get a clear progression path in their career because it's such a wide um, career opportunity. You can spend multiple different years, decades in that role and grow from a junior program manager to even becoming the operations lead, a technical lead, CTO, even CEOs of an organization. Like I said, there are two main types of program managers. So people say there's engineering or technical program managers, and then there are business slash operations program managers. Apart from the underlying activities remain the same, but some of the key focus areas where the goals, the focus, and the primary stakeholders and the requirement of additional skills are the differentiators. So from a goal standpoint, you have to be engineering tech or a technical program manager is more focused on creating like predictable, repeatable engineering processes and ensuring that a product team or an engineering team is printing fast enough but not burning themselves out. But at the same time, a business or operations program manager does a little more holistic in, but at the same time, they have to focus on faster, cheaper, and better projects, processes in a scalable manner. Scalability is key. We have to do things such that we can repeat themselves and we can scale it to different parts of the business. But and again, when you talk about the focus area, of course, a business or an operations program manager usually tends to be in the driving seat where the objectives have been shared with them, and then they can go ahead and do what they want and bring folks together. On the engineering and again technical PGM side, it's a little bit of a complementary role because you have to work very closely with the engineering and product teams, and all of the three pillars and the three teams have to work closely together to get the best and the most desired outcome. And likewise, the primary stakeholders for one is engineers, product managers, technical leads, some more. But on the business side, it's usually focused on strategy, marketing, planning, business development, partnerships, etc., depending on the nature of the project. One thing to know is to become a technical program manager, you need to have technical knowledge. Like how at Google, how we say is that to become a certain level of a technical program manager, you need that level -1 of technical knowledge to even qualify. So if you're starting out and you don't have a technical background, you would rather prefer spending a couple of years becoming a business program manager and developing your program management skills, and then build your technical skills on the side before you decide to move over. So program versus project. Ongoing discussions, various people will give you various different responses, but I still wanted to give you some key areas which I feel makes a huge difference. Now, project management can be usually a single project focus, and we do this in our life. Like even when we decide to go and, let's say, set up our home, buy a new TV, buy a new TV unit, set it up. That's part of our project management. I have a budget, I have a timeline, I know what I want, I know where everything is going to fit finally, I know what the final outcome is going to be, and I go and chase it down. In program management sense, if I draw an analogy, it would be more like, imagine I have to set up an entire house, I have to keep the house running. So the program manager will be taking care of setting up the furniture, making sure water is coming, making sure my appliances are working fine, making sure rent is getting paid, making sure that the place is livable, regular cleanliness. So these are all like mini projects. And as a program manager, you're overviewing multiple mini projects with the ultimate objective that your house is livable and you're having a good time spending your time in the house. So similarly, in a bigger organization, there can be like small projects, each of with their unique objectives. But a program manager comes in and probably manages multiple projects or makes sure that all the projects are working towards a specific business, marketing, or product goals. So yeah, like you said, like achieving a common goal is what program manager focuses on. Completing a project is what a project manager usually focuses on. The scope is broad and narrow. Again, depends on projects and organizations. The resources are limited in project because you only need the things that are required to complete that particular project. But in a program manager world, the impact is org wide. Hence, the deployment of resources are also org wide. Stakeholders, we have usually multiple stakeholders across multiple different functions. Project management, again, is usually, I'm saying single, but it's usually fewer. And strategically, if you think about like what skill sets do I need to become a project manager versus program manager, or like change from one to the other, of course you have to be honing down on planning, organizing, and execution skills as a project manager. But then once you become a program manager, decide to become one, you need to make sure that your strategic thinking, leadership capabilities, and seamless communication is extremely strong. So a colleague of mine at Google actually had created a list of 18 attributes for a program manager. Now I don't think 18 is a big number for this presentation, but I did distill it down to 7 of the most important attributes that I experience. I'll quickly go through them, but again, this is open for discussion. If you want to dive deeper, each of these attributes are enough to have a whole half an hour conversation on, but I'm going to go very quickly with all of them. First, managing interested parties and stakeholders. The most important thing, as a program manager, you will be balancing expectations, goals, objectives, um, even handle escalations, demystify things for multiple different parties and stakeholders, and each of them will have a different desired outcome. So you have to make sure that you are managing each of them really well. You're communicating with them. You are taking all of their incentives and all of their objectives together with you in the journey. So if you already are someone who manages stakeholders really well, good with communication, good with people skills, you might end up being a very good program manager as well. Sorry. Second point is influencing without authority. This becomes interesting because even though it looks like you are on the driving seat, the real authority of a program comes from the program stakeholders. You have to convince and influence all the stakeholders to move their pieces of the puzzle in the right direction to ultimately achieve success for the organization. You technically do not have like a position or authority. You're not the CEO of a company to say that go do this and everyone will go do that. You have to influence people to get the right outcome for individual projects and milestones to hit the overall desired program outcome. So your influencing skills have to be extremely strong. It's easier to influence when you're in a position of authority, but you have to learn to influence where you're not in a position of authority. And this is one of the strongest attributes to become a successful program manager as well. Delegating responsibility, yes, fun part. So a lot of people think, oh wait, if I become a program manager, am I supposed to do all the work? Like, how do I know coding? How do I know strategizing? How do I know client negotiations? How do I know writing a code? How do I know contract negotiations? You do not. That's the fun part. You're not expected to. What you're expected to do is delegate responsibility to the right individual, which means the person who's most suited to do the job, who can do it accurately, who can do it fast, who can do it with the desired specifications of the project or the program. That's who should be assigned the activity or the task to. So you have to delegate responsibilities to your teammates, sometimes subordinates, but usually your teammates. Now comes managing complexity. Now, the thing is, when you work as a program manager, you will be given complex projects and complexities to handle. Don't go ahead and add more complexities to the program. So in your role and your experience and profile, you might have come across situations where it just gets very complicated because too many people are working on it. You do not know the timelines, there are too many dependencies, and you sit back and think, what can I do to solve this? It's usually in these moments where program managers come in, and that's why in a tech world where so many things are happening at such a fast pace and so many different stakeholders are working on projects and usually globally distributed, any even the smallest of programs becomes very complex. And that's where a good program manager comes in and can almost like diffuse the complexity with slowly unraveling the mysteries of the project and what's like holding things back or what is creating the complexity, and then just makes it simpler for individual stakeholders. Now, by managing complexity, you have to make sure that you're not adding more complexity in the program. So whenever you see yourself adding more complexity, take a step back and see what you can do to make sure that it's simple. At the same time, expect the most complicated things to come your way. Yes, turning chaos into order, of course. So organizing is a key element again. So when you usually are thrown into a program, and I use this expression of getting thrown into a program, because usually that's what happens. Like if a program is already running smoothly, you don't always need a program manager. You need a program manager when the stakes are high, when things are not in order anymore, when people are not probably naturally inherently program or project managing. That's where you bring in a program manager to organize everything. So yes, you have to get into a chaotic situation. You have to enjoy doing it and building it in order in terms of trackers, meeting notes, presentations, escalation forums, discussion forums, sign off sessions. It can be anything, a bunch of things. And a PGM or a program manager has all of these skill sets and tools which he or she can deploy to make sure that all of these problems are solved within due time. So if you enjoy such kind of situation, if you enjoy or you thrive in chaos, the way I put it, a program manager might be a career for you. Again, prioritization. Now, this is key not only for program managers, I think this is key for everyone, but this is extremely important for a program manager. You just have to prioritize and trade off. You need to know that you cannot get everything done within the fixed amount of time, within the fixed resources, and within the fixed budget assigned to you. And budget can be in terms of headcount, time budget, monetary budget, financial budgets, anything. Like you won't be able to do it. So you have to prioritize everything, and then eventually also prioritize a sequence of activities, objectives, goals, which department, which stakeholder. It's key. You cannot move ahead without prioritization, and you will be forced to prioritize every now and then as the project progresses. Some or pivotal decisions are being made. Some things become important at X point in time. Some other thing becomes important at Y point in time. You have to continue to have a list of priorities in terms of projects, goals, objectives, even people to get the work done. And finally, caring about the constraints. Everything looks good, but you need to know that every situation raises constraints. So I might be like, I want the biggest OLED TV in the world, but I'm constrained by how much, let's say, money or space that I have in my apartment. It's important. I may want to go out and visit the world, but at the same time, I know how much energy, how much visa requirements, time to visa, how much constraint. Those are some of the constraints that I have. Let's say I want to go and build my own company from scratch. I will be constrained by fund and market size. I just need to know what are the constraints and I have to work around the constraints. So my prioritization framework, my like overall like goals, business goals and outcomes has to make sure that we are caring about the constraints, because when the constraints are not cared about, you will end up getting a outcome which was not desirable to begin with. Okay, I quickly breeze through the 7 of the top attributes I feel which just comes in handy as a program manager. But then the question becomes, okay, fine, I want to become a program manager now, but what career mobility do I have once I become a program manager? So this is not an exhaustive list, but just a quick list of things. If you are in one of the roles on the left, or even if you're not, and if you want to get to one of the roles on the right, a program manager might just be a good flow part of your career. um, and this is what I learned in India. Like growing up, I actually did not experience the term program management enough, even though I heard a lot of people talk about project management. And I realized why. Like it's usually not always required until unless the complexities and the stakes go higher. And that's why when I moved to the US, I immediately understood that, oh wait, there is a whole world of program management and this like so much in demand and people really wanted to be a good program manager. And then again, at the same time, good program managers are rare. So this was like, okay, great. I want to continue doing program management for a couple of years and I want to figure out where I end up going. So on the left, to become a program manager is easier. It's just one of the career paths. You can be a project manager right now, elevate yourself in the organization, become a program manager. You can be a partner manager, which means you're good with communication, external partner management, or like similar to managers where you're like managing multiple accounts. Again, a good skill that you develop and eventually move into program management. Consulting, business analytics, all of these things, skills takes you like data driven decision making. Again, a core skill for a program manager, so that becomes a natural progression. But once you become a program manager, you can choose to become so many different things. And one of the top things are a business program manager aspiring to become a technical program manager. Someone similar to me, I moved into a strategy and operations role after having worked as a program manager for a while. Product managers in the tech world is a very exciting move from a program manager as well. And a lot of product teams actually like having a program manager as a product manager, because you need to be like well organized and you need to know the stakes, the goals, the objectives, and get and work with a lot of people. Again, some of the skills you have already developed as a program manager. Chief of staff, of course, chief of staff and innovation manager, like not every organization would usually have it, but when they have it, they also prefer people with program management experience and background. And finally, if you are deciding to become an entrepreneur, you just it's like imperative for you to have generally good project and program management skills. So if you already have it, if you eventually decide to start your own company, just having those background experience and skill sets is just going to naturally make you a little get you a little bit of an advantage to become a successful entrepreneur, because you have to really manage your resources, your constraints, your people, and your objectives really well. So finally, quickly, like wrapping everything up, how to become a program manager. Now, the standards, some of the things are very standard. Like, of course, you need a bachelor's degree in engineering, business administration, or any other technical field to work in as a program manager in tech. But there are exceptions to this rule also. Now, it's also good to have a master's degree. It's not a must, but it's like that's why I said it's optional but preferred, because again, the way I explained it, the scope of the program is gets elevated. So even when you get an MSc in project management, you end up learning about the various skills of project management, and that comes in handy once you elevate yourself to managing multiple projects for the organization. There are very popular project management certifications which are used for program manager roles as well. So if you can go ahead and earn any of these certifications, the PMP from the PMI Institute or Program Management Institute um, comes in handy. Like I have a lot of colleagues. I did not end up doing it, but when I was preparing for my interview, I studied a lot from the study material for many of these certifications. So I did not end up giving the examination, but I did study like I was gonna give this examination, this certification for project managers. And then agile and scrum certification, something and again, you can just go on Google, YouTube. There's enough material available out there, so I don't want to like go and keep going down on it. But certifications help. If you do not have any background right now, and if you're trying to move within the organization or across organizations, if you have spent some time doing these certifications, usually they take 3 months to 6 months. It's not about just passing it, it's also about like really learning and understanding what they're talking about. It's good. So definitely consider certification if you want to take a quick jump from whatever you're doing to becoming a program manager.
So,
Some of the yeah.
Niladri, just one question for the
Yeah.
benefit of anybody who would listen. So these certifications, who can pursue these certifications? So whether a graduate with currently doing suppose BTech, so he can also do the certifications, or it is advisable to do somebody who is already working in some organization, and then he.
Very, it's actually a very good question, Satyam. So I mean, here's what will happen. Like a lot of folks in even in third year and fourth year in college, they will be like, oh, let's go ahead and do some certifications. But the interesting thing is that many of the things that are taught in these certifications are already part of your bachelor's degree. You will see like, or even in master's degree in MBA operations courses. So a fresh out of college, um, you might not immediately need it. But then it's usually advisable for people who are already been in their career for a while and doing something completely unrelated, and it's a good segue into the program management field. So ideally people with 3-4 years of experience, I would recommend them to do these certifications, because of course it brushes up your skills a little bit more, but at the same time it's a little bit of a time investment. Like you have to give a couple of hours every week to learn and then finally finish the certification. And from what I've seen my friends take it, it's not easy. Like one of the primary reasons I did not end up giving one of these certification exams, because I knew I would fail. I'm pretty sure I would. I mean, I might be a great program manager, but you need to spend some time to actually get these certifications. So that's what I would recommend. Like 3-4 years in your career at least, or even later on in your career, you want to brush up your skills. Why not? Usually the time commitment is 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Cool. And then the everything else is very straightforward. Of course, as you, it's a high visibility leadership opportunity. So if you have opportunity to take some leadership and management courses, be my like for all means go and take it. And if you decide to go into a technical role or technical program manager role, you need to develop some technical skills as well. So yeah, start learning and reading about your domain specific expertise. And then when it comes to some industry specific certification, that only comes in handy when you want to work in a very specific domain or a specific industry. A good example is healthcare management certification if you want to be a program manager in the healthcare field. But always be on the lookout for professional development programs, and each of these programs might not be directed at project and program management, but it makes you a better leader. And you as a program manager, that's your first step to becoming a good leader. You have a huge audience. A lot of people are working with you. A lot of people are leaning on you for support. So just being professionally ready helps. Like a good example is at one point in time, I had 50 stakeholders across multiple programs at one point in time. And each of these people not just knew, I mean, I not just knew what they are expected to deliver as part of the program, but I also knew at what point in like what stage of the program they are at. So it's just like a great opportunity to like manage a lot of people. And then of course like continuous learning, stay updated, read, attend webinars, professional associations. But what I would say is start. So if you want to go down that journey, the first thing to do is just start. And like James Cashpenny actually said, it's always the start that requires the greatest effort. Same thing happened with me in 2018 when I decided to become a program manager. I could have just gone in and given those interviews without getting prepared, but actually spent 3 whole months preparing for these multiple rounds of technical interviews to crack the PGM role. And that taught me after a long time that, oh yes, you have to invest time and effort, and starting was the biggest challenge. But yeah, when you start, like, try to have goals in your mind. This is a little more generic gyan, I would say. Like, have a goal, make that goal smart. You can screenshot this particular tab, make sure that it's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time based. The goals, and the goal would be to start at where you are and eventually end up being a program manager. And what are the activities you need to do? And finally, network. Yes, you are. I always say this: you are only as powerful as your network. So, build meaningful relationship with people. And while you're networking with people, add value to other folks. As a program manager, they're always learning about other domains. They are trying to learn about other industries, your skill sets, and it helps them manage their stakeholders better. So, when you are networking with other program managers, bring something to the table, and the networks will automatically help you grow. Cool. That brings me to the end of the presentation. Whoever is watching live or will be watching this video later, please feel free to provide me some feedback on this. I intend to present this with more folks internally within Google and YouTube as well as externally. So I would appreciate any kind of feedback. But with that, thank you so much. I also rushed through this a little bit, but I'll be open for comments later on offline as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Niladri. I think it was very well presented, and the timing was also spot on. So you said 30 minutes, it has exactly ended at 31 minutes. So I think that was very spot on. So the timing, the presentation, the flow, everything was fine. Uh, just a few more questions that somebody would listening would like to know. So first of all is how is the career relevant in India, or are there enough program management roles in India vis-a-vis abroad? And what are the salary expectations that one would expect in India or maybe abroad also? Again, just a generic value would suffice.
Sure, sure. The second one I was actually thinking of including in the slide, but then I held back because I did not have enough information at that point in time. But in India, yes. So in India, project management is very popular. So any organization, any company you go, you will meet a lot of project managers. India is usually known for like being operationally strong because one having a huge workforce. It's not the easiest thing to manage multiple different people and multiple different stakeholders. So the project management is inherent in India. And I tell this in a very funny way, but when I was studying operations in during one of my student exchange sessions in France, there was this whole course on jugaad, literally Indian jugaad. And I tell myself that as a project manager and as a program manager also, you have to do a lot of jugaad. So the program manager roles are rising in India primarily also because a lot of technical roles are shifting to India. So companies are hiring engineers and product managers in huge numbers in India. And when you're hiring these program managers and product managers and then working on multiple different complex projects, you need to have program managers ideally co-located or located in the same zone to be able to work with them. And hence more and more program manager roles are propping up. And then other thing is that India has been also on the rise of startups. Like so many startups are becoming big and like starting small and getting into the and getting on track to become a unicorn soon. What it's causing is again multiple different big organizations are suddenly needing well like smart program managers. So then that need is coming up because of the macroeconomic situations. Now, when you think about it, some of the established organizations, they already have people doing this job. It's just that they have been doing it for a while because you need so much industry context. So there's not a lot of like movement happening in that space. So not a lot of open program manager roles are available. So when you normally do a dipstick of understanding how many program manager roles are available in countries like India, you immediately do not find out because most of these roles are created with the need of the business. So now because we are growing as an economy and new companies are being like forming up, and then other tech companies are also shifting some of their technical workforce to India and generally the Indian subcontinent, these roles are also opening up in the region. So it's on the rise for sure. um Salary expectations, actually I'm not very familiar with the salary expectations in India. But I can tell you it's a very well paid job. Like it's a sought after, extremely well paid job. Roughly speaking, in the US, apart from I know a little bit about the Google salary structure, but I can only share with you what is like publicly available. So publicly available, depending on the experience and level, and again also depending on the region. Like in the Bay Area, a junior program manager starting out salary would be something around like $130,000, and then a senior program manager can easily, like, again, I'm only talking about base salary, no bonus, no stocks. Like bonus and stocks are on top of this base salary, but a very experienced senior program manager can make anything close to 300,000, $400,000, again, base alone. But given that it's a space where there are very few highly skilled program managers and there's a huge demand for it, salaries are always negotiable and they can go off the roof. Which means it's a good place to be, where you, if you are good at your job, you demand the salary. So as you keep growing and the industry knows about your experience and your skill sets, and you have already run bigger programs, you can demand whatever salary you want almost. But you also have to show that you're bringing in the value. So the salary comes as long as you are able to add the value. In India, unfortunately, I'm not very sure, but if you get a program manager role in India, the salary expectations will naturally be 20-30% higher than similar experience even in role profiles in other non-technical jobs.
Yes, yes. So Ritesh, sir, would you like to have any query, and otherwise we will.
No, Satyam, thanks. I just want to thank Niladri and for this session. We have been talking for around 1 year, I believe. So
Yeah.
at
And
last
I
we
mean, I
made it.
remember last year when I was talking about it, I was like, it's very difficult for me to plan something 1 year in advance. But at the same time, this is funny because I shouldn't be saying it, because as a program manager, you are expected to plan that much in advance. So
No,
that's when in
we
my head I was like, yeah, I have to say yes, and I have to optimize everything with that milestone or that deadline that I set for myself. So
exactly.
it's
That's
also
what.
a mindset shift.
No, you are a program manager, so I'm sure you appreciate it and working for a tech company. And our idea in the team, like including Satyam and Vikas, and that we have a calendar for 2 years, next 2 years. I know,
Exactly. Yeah, I was very impressed.
things change, but as you said, we have a clear goal that I have to do. I will try my best to reach that. If something changes, and we all are doing it for the welfare of Vidyapeeth. So uh, as Satyam explained to you, that we will record this session and then we put on YouTube. So it has happened in the past. Senior alumni have come to me, especially I don't know about Satyam. Today also someone messaged Satyam, can you put the recording of that because I want it for my sister.
Yeah,
So I'm sure
it
someone will,
happens for sure.
and that's it becomes what you have invested this 1 hour today, and I'm sure for preparing something, it's a good investment and it is going to help our Vidyapeeth. So from my
Oh,
side,
absolutely.
thanks.
No, I also intend to continue to like evolve this particular presentation, because this allows me to understand that what is missing, what can be more useful for this particular topic. Maybe I can drop a few things and add something more. It's an ongoing learning opportunity for me as well. Even though I'm no longer in the program management space, I know that that skill set comes in extremely handy. And I also manage like a team of program managers, so that's required. Like I need to know what my expectations are, or the assignments and goals I'm like delegating. So, and what they're good at. So it's just like overall, it helps me as well. Okay, and again, Satyam, appreciate you reaching out, and and Ritesh, of course, I will be in London in a couple of weeks. I know you're in Luxembourg, but if I ever happen to travel to Europe, I'll come see you for sure. And Satyam,
So,
you're in which city again? You're in Mumbai, right?
yes, I work in Reserve Bank of India, RBI.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So if I happen to be in Mumbai, I'll probably hit you up. I will be in Mumbai for a couple of hours during my transit to Kolkata.
Achha.
But
When?
July 5th.
Okay,
So I have
July.
a 9-hour layover in Mumbai. So
Acha.
So
I can probably
Niladri,
cover
in
it.
the Mumbai International Airport, our junior Shevnath is the head of immigration. Huh?
Yes,
So
yes.
make sure you talk to him. He will take you for the coffee and all that.
Oh, I would love to do that because honestly, I think we end up traveling so much, and we have a big base in Mumbai. Like Mumbai is where most of the YouTube operations and like partner management org and everyone also sits. So I see myself traveling often. So do you have his
I will
connections
pass
as
on the
well?
number. Yeah, I will pass
Yes,
on.
Yeah, so I just love to say hi and probably, if possible, go and meet him as well.
yeah. Shivnatha, he's on airport only. So he tells us that
Okay.
if you are visiting Mumbai airport, do meet us. So that's a good thing that Ritesh has actually remembered.
So
So
this is something interesting. So I would love to go and meet him. I have 9 hours to kill, so I would definitely go and meet him. So pass along the information. I'll chat with him and connect.
Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone. And then keep in touch. And hopefully it also triggers some of my other batchmates to get more leaned in and start sharing their experience, because I've got so many talented, smart individuals in my own batch, in both the batches that I passed out from. So maybe it can motivate some folks to also start and sharing their experience. I would love to learn from them. Even though we end up talking a lot, we never talk about work. So I want to know about the work as well. That's like an easy access to learning something new.
sure. Okay, so thank you. Thank
Perfect.
you so much.
Yeah. Take care. Bye
Mm.
bye.